Hey, what is up, mortals? It's Welsley here, and welcome to part 4 of What If Naruto Was Evil. Just wanted to greet you guys by saying sit back and relax. You're in for a treat, so we begin. Shortly after Naruto regained himself, the sack that the Anbu placed on his head when he was initially kidnapped was removed. Sweat dripped down the lost Genin's face. A blinding light source directed at him, flooding his eyesight. He couldn't tell what was going on, but his muscles felt bound in the sitting position he found himself in. Still hazed, the young boy tried stretching. However, as it turns out, he was actually strapped to the chair, with his arms tied by the baseline of the back of the chair and his legs along his seat's legs. The discomfort brought a slight eerie panic to the boy's psyche. The longer he sat there, the more his jolting movements grew more exotic and rapid. It didn't take long for his vision to clear up and adjust to the new levels of light he was being exposed to. However, it didn't help that the rest of the room was dark, clouded by the light solution surrounding him from the light source above. Hey! Is anybody here? Let me out! As Naruto's voice crescendoed from a light humming to a loud cry for help, his voice echoed around him. Whatever room he was in, it was a large one. Naruto sat in isolation, strapped to a chair in a dark room. The Genin began to use his chakra control to turn his fingers into chakra blades to maybe cut himself out. However, no chakra could be summoned. Naruto went to investigate the cause for his chakra blockage. Sure enough, his legs and arms were entirely covered in sealing and explosive tags. Suddenly, a voice echoed from just behind the young Genin, causing him to jump, and a drop of sweat landed just next to his legs, merely centimeters away from a strapped explosive tag. A door slid sideways, revealing a silhouette of a short-haired man. His features weren't recognizable, but judging by the name that was just blurted out, it would have to be Danzo's. Careful there. Wouldn't want your guts sprawled across this room. I wouldn't recommend sweating on those, Naruto. Danzo's voice rang out from where the silhouette stood. Eventually, it would block out the light emitting beyond the door behind him as he inched closer with each step until he was finally exposed by the light of the one shining down on Naruto. Danzo slowed to a halt just before crossing a white line taped to the ground. The old man smiled before taking one step past it. The Anbu behind Naruto grabbed him by the hair and forced his head to cock forward to a bow. Naruto's vertical peripherals can only gaze upon Danzo's shinobi sandals and no higher. Tell me, do you know what Konoha represents? Represents? We're just a village. What's there to represent? Foolish child. Konoha is not just a simple village. We represent resilience and origin. Something I'm afraid you can't relate to. Naruto grew agitated. He wasn't in the mood for insults. Now, answer me. Where did you find the scroll that's now in your possession? Naruto hesitated to answer, and the Anbu clenched the Genin's scalp, forcing the answer out of him. Naruto gasped in pain for a brief moment before shouting his answer. The Hokage's office! The Anbu's fingers released their tight grasp, and Naruto took a breath of relief. Next question. Were you alone? Or did someone put you up to it? Out of fear of Naruto's hair, he didn't hesitate. It was Mizuki. He said a scroll was in the Hokage's office. I could use it to help me pass the academy exam. He told me not to let anyone find out. Yet here you are, spilling information and breaking your promise with him. Such lack of resilience. The Anbu reacted once again, squeezing the Genin's hair, forcing him to look up at the light where a kunai was already present. The tip of the blade was only an inch away from Naruto's pupil. You simply won't do for a soldier the way you are now. What happened to the scroll? Naruto's eye couldn't help but blink rapidly. The discomfort the ever-so-close kunai brought him caused more sweat to drip down his face. Everything was out of his control now. It's still in my apartment! Danzo nodded. He inserted a pipe to his lips, and the Anbu lit the tobacco with fire jutsu from behind Naruto. His chakra control must have been on another level, since Danzo didn't even feel the heat of the fire jutsu. The old man inhaled the fumes and puffed out a cloud of smoke at Naruto's face. The smoke made its way to Naruto's eyeball, causing him to blink really tightly. The Anbu forced his eyelids back open with his fingers. Danzo spoke out, enjoying the pipe. I see. Tell me, boy, what did you learn in that scroll? Naruto's eyes began to dry out, and he wasn't allowed to close it either. He wasn't sure when it happened, but the kunai inched closer to his pupil. Are you driving that thing closer every time I blink? Or close my eye? The random elite shinobi in the dark socked Naruto across the cheek, causing a bruise. As Naruto's head was shaken to the side, the kunai that sat idly right in front of Naruto made a deep cut along the bridge of his nose. A river of blood ran down Naruto's cheeks and lips. Once again, his head was forced in its previous position, leaning upwards past the chair's back support. The only time you may speak is when answering Lord Danzo's questions. Naruto took a moment to himself. His composure was ever fading, and his mentality of the situation wasn't getting any better either. However, in this brief moment he wanted to himself was taken as another sign of hesitation to the Anbu, and he began to heat up the kunai with the hand he's holding it with. The blade took no time at all to grow to a bright red. It doesn't take a genius to know what the Anbu would do with it. The internal beckoned cry for help and mercy was forced out of Naruto out of fear. The heat emitted from the blade and eroded the surface of Naruto's eye worked wonders to hasten his resolve to answer. Everything! I've read over the scroll dozens of times! Naruto's voice shattered through his vocals like the foam of a rabid dog. The look of desperation on his face grew painstaking. Danzo's eyes widened a bit. It wouldn't make sense for a Genin child to lie under these circumstances. They haven't been conditioned to resist such interrogation methods. However, for a mere Genin to learn all of the forbidden jutsus found in the scroll is equally senseless. I see. Then I'm afraid you won't be sent home just yet. Prepare to be resilient, young Genin. Danzo nodded at the mysterious Anbu hovering behind Naruto. He chucked Naruto's head forward as he withdrew the heated kunai. His head can now relax as it was leaning forward, looking down at himself. Tears formed up in only one of his eyes. The pain finally caught up to him with the adrenaline settled. It caused the left side of his vision to go hazy. Slowly, it would lead to critical permanent blindness. His tear gland under the eye was burnt as well, keeping tears from falling down that side of his face. The blood that ran down his face from the bridge of his nose had dried up. Naruto's face showed a dead blank stare. However, the shaking, tears, and sweat told another story. He was putting up a brave front, but his body wouldn't let him. A few hours passed, and the entrance of the dark room slid open once again. An Anbu lackey let himself in with a bowl of piping hot ramen. He crouched in front of the Genin and grasped some noodles with his chopsticks. Naruto's arms were still bound by the tags, so he couldn't feed himself. After the feeding was done, the Anbu let himself out of the room and closed the door behind him. It relieved Naruto to see that his time here wouldn't be entirely spent in senseless torture. Though, what's a kid to think in this situation? Naruto's just happy he got to eat some of his favorite food. Well, Naruto thought a bit harder about it. How long have they been spying on him? The Genin knew of the elite team of shinobi derived within the village, but he only heard about them through rumors and vague scriptures. Now that he had met them, the regret he felt for stealing the scroll just to get ahead was surreal. Naruto had plenty of time to himself. He thought about the malice of the world. If elite mysterious teams, forbidden scrolls, and village propaganda was as eerie as it was in Konoha, what was the world like outside of the village? Naruto never ventured past the forest outside of Konoha's domain. How much longer will I be in here for? My muscles went numb hours ago. I also have a mission with Kakashi-sensei and the others. Screw this resilient crap! Naruto began yammering to himself out of boredom. The Genin's thought began mustering out aloud. It was about as much as he could do just to bring some sort of entertainment. As he spoke, he noticed the dryness dwelling amongst his tongue and throat. I'm thirsty. Suddenly, a pillar of water splashed down all over the Genin. Naruto was put into shock at first by the sudden wave. Though when the sudden bombshell came to pass, immediately, Naruto began drinking what he can, sucking in the water and swallowing as a whale does with krill. Though the water would be falling down at him longer than he would have liked, he began to drown. He'd gasp for air over and over. He began to shake and stir within the pillar. Some time passed and his consciousness began to fade. However, just before he could drown completely, the water sedated to nothing. Naruto continued to suffocate from the water still stuck in his windpipe. That's when a fist burst out from the darkness beyond the light, punched him in the gut, forcing him to upchuck whatever water was stuck in his system. The fist disappeared back where it came from, as Naruto continued to cough. saliva and snot dripping down his face. You bastards! Why am I even still here? You've got the answers you wanted, right? Let me go already! Okay, I get it. I'm not worthy of my own village! Naruto's desperation began to reveal itself. Regardless, it was followed with no response once again. The genin dipped his head, frustrated by the situation. Hours? Days? The boy lost count. His body was completely numb, as never once was he torn from his position. Naruto's clothes were ruined by his own waste. He couldn't hold it in after a while. Even though moisture has touched the tags, no explosion occurred. So what was said during the first day about not letting anything drip on them was just a bluff. Naruto's baggy eyes glared up along where the entrance would be. He's been stuck here so long that his sanity began to fluster from a mixture of slight discomfort and treacherous genjutsu interrogation sessions. Naruto hasn't heard another person's voice since his first interrogation. Yet, no matter how much time passed, there always seemed to be an Anbu nearby. Their infiltration skills were immaculate. Naruto still couldn't be sure of the ghosts that were potentially gazing over his shoulder at all times. You're done. A voice other than Naruto actually spoke out. Naruto's eyes opened, but suddenly he was now clearly in a log cabin, a small one. The hanging light above him was still the same too, and he was still strapped to the chair. A subtle creaking noise croaked from the old wooden door before the boy. Beyond the door was once again Danzo. However, he looked nothing like he did when Naruto was in the dark room. Was there ever a dark room? It's about time you've been let out. A few minutes was more than enough time. Naruto's lips quivered as his eyeball pushed downwards. Naruto's eyes dilated when he heard the amount of time he was in there. It didn't help that he can still actually feel his body, unlike how it was in the dark room he's been in for who knows how long. Few minutes? The hell do you mean, few minutes? I've been put through hell for weeks because of you! Danzo merely smiled and shook his head. My poor boy. That must have been one horrid experience you've had. Tell me, do you think you're resilient enough for this village? Resilient? That damn word again! What does that have to do with anything? That's when it clicked. Naruto's face lit up like brimstone. This entire time, the reason why he couldn't see or sense anyone that entire time. Genjutsu? Danzo played the fool, shrugging his shoulders. Genjutsu? Naruto, we only nabbed you to enroll you into our squadron. It's occurred to the Anbu and myself that you are indeed a force worthy enough for the cause. However, unsure if you were resilient enough for the tasks ahead. None of this made sense. Why would they think that of a simple genin? Naruto closed his eyes, trying to recollect himself in the situation. Guess you didn't show enough resilience. When the genin opened his eyes again, the dark room returned and Danzo was gone. Naruto bit his bottom lip aggressively, drawing blood from frustration. Until you accept your destiny, this room shall be your fate forever. A vessel of resilience is what you must become, young man. Danzo's voice echoed through the dark chambered room. Though, that's when the image of Kurama popped in his head. Over and over again, day by day, in the darkness, Naruto's mental state faded more and more until all that was left to focus on was Kurama. Even through repeated harsh interrogations, Naruto was starting to go silent. It seemed whatever harm put Naruto's body through began to no longer take effect. He was already long gone. At least, that's what Danzo thought. Naruto sat in front of the fox stuck in the cage once again. This time, the seal looked more damaged than before. Hello again, fox. Hello, brat. This time, the first time in what felt like weeks, Naruto smiled. In fact, he felt peaceful sitting in front of the QB. However, Kurama didn't share in the young blonde's sentiment. If anything, he was pissed at the fact that he hasn't managed to just break himself out yet. Just let me take over for a bit. I can break out of those tags of yours. Can you? Wouldn't we die? Don't be a fool, boy. My power is far more capable than you realize. could resist if you let me try. Naruto was suddenly dragged out from the Jinchuriki dreamscape as the genjutsu suddenly ended. Good. Welcome to the Anbu. Naruto was absolutely livid. His brain state was far from sane at this point.
I never agreed to your damn offer!
Offer? Don't believe you ever had a choice in the matter, Naruto. Once said, the Anbu went for a swift attempt with his elbow straight at Naruto's head. However, before it made impact, he maneuvered his head to the side and bit down on the arm, pulling the Anbu towards him and bonked him in the head with his hard skull. Danzo simply put the genin in another genjutsu, never showing the secret dojutsus he has lying underneath his bandages. Danzo faced the unconscious Naruto. Enjoy your first mission, young genin. I can't wait to see how you put that kinjutsu to use. Display a good heap helping of resilience out on the field. Danzo's lips folded to a smile. It was obvious this whole kidnapping attempt was the start to an organized plan set out by the old man. Resilient. Upon hearing that word once again, something triggered Naruto's mentality, causing him to wake up. There wasn't a lot to look at. The cell he found himself in was old and musky. A white-haired shinobi that Naruto has never seen before stood silhouetted outside his room. Good. You're finally awake.
Where am I?
The white-haired shinobi stayed silent and pushed his glasses up along the bridge of his nose. He turned and bowed before a figure yet to be seen passed the cell walls. However, Naruto could see the hazy miasma of negative emotion just from beyond his point of view. Someone was there. Lord Orochimaru, your patient is ready for you. Orochimaru revealed himself. His wicked smile widened as he gazed down at the strapped-down genin. Thank you, Kabuto. Please leave me and continue to plan with the Sound 5. Kabuto bowed once again before walking off. Meanwhile, Orochimaru opened the cell door and pulled up a chair for him to sit on. You and I have a bright future ahead of us, Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in this story thus far. Hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, we've got a primary channel called We the Celestials. We the Celestials is what we do here already, but their content's centered around the crazy world and lore of My Hero Academia. So please, check us out over there if you're feeling in the mood for a roller coaster of quirky content. We also have another relative to our channel, Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge of all kinds of series guaranteed. I'd like to let you all know, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. If you're perhaps interested in what we do here in We the Celestials, then I'd like to extend out an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being we accept members 16 and older to join our crew. You can find us on our Discord, which you can locate in the description below, whether you're a fan or looking to join our band of misfits. All you gotta do is hit up the recruitment server and sign up for whichever category of work that fulfills your interests. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video, so thank you for watching and have a great day.